See you, all right? Good. Welcome, folks, to StreamingChurch TV Live. We have not been, we usually do a Thursday night broadcast live every Thursday evening. We have taken a break for a little while, and we just started back up after a few weeks off, and you can tell we're a little rusty because we've been rapidly trying to put this together.
Yes, we've been, and Phil just said, we have 1 minute. I go, we have 1 minute?
We have 1 minute. So this is Steve Lacy. I'm Phil Thompson. Steve Lacy is the founder and the president of StreamingChurch TV. I don't know what I am, but I'm here.
You're the man.
I'm the man. So today we're going to talk a little bit about streaming behind the scenes, which is why we're in a different setup than usual, which is why we've been scurrying around running late. Normally we do this at a coffee shop. My church, our church, we both happen to go to the same church, alivechurch.com, and we have a couple venues, couple campuses, and normally we're over at a coffee shop. But today we're at a different venue. We're at our Oro Valley campus here, which is just outside of Tucson, Arizona. And we're behind the scenes, as I've been saying earlier, in this back room. The stage is over this direction, and maybe in a moment or so we'll attempt to drag the camera out there and give you a little bit of a shot of the stage. But the stage, the platform in which the band plays, the teaching comes from, is over that direction. This is the back room where all the streaming happens. And so what we're going to do here, and by the way, feel free to ask us questions. You can ask us questions about streaming in the chat. In fact, let me pull up my computer here, and I will stick it over here so I can maybe see some of the questions that come forth. The video, if your video is freezing a little bit, it could be because your connection's not good, or we're streaming probably at what, 200 bytes or something?
Yeah, like we're doing 300, but 300. We're on auto adjust, so we should be okay.
So we should be okay on this end, but you might be having a little bit of a problem, perhaps in that regard. So. Let's do this. Let's start things off by having Steve tell us a little bit about this back room, because you're back here a lot. You're a volunteer for this church, and you do some things here. So we've got some equipment here, like a TriCaster, several computers, a mixing board here. Tell us a little bit about what's going on here during service.
So we broadcast 3 services on the weekend, and I actually volunteer on Saturday night. And we come back into this back room, which, as Phil mentioned, is adjacent to the stage there. And we've got all this equipment. We didn't start out like this, but this is where we're at today.
We didn't start off like this. And can we run a little disclaimer and tell people that if you've just started streaming, or if you're thinking about streaming, you don't have to do all this to begin with, right?
Right, exactly. I mean, there's lots of churches that just, you need a PC, a camera, and internet connection. I mean, that's the minimum, and that's probably a vast majority of the churches have that set up. So, and that's where we started. And then we've kind of grown from there and added, what we've done, a lot of this stuff back here is not only for the web, well, the majority of it's not only for the web, but it's for the campus that's here. What we do some things here is a lot of churches will run the words and the lyrics in a separate screen, and what we do is we run the lyrics and scripture and that sort of thing in a lower third below the video.
Right.
So we're driving not only the web, but we're also driving the house here. Right. So a lot of this equipment is set up, to drive the house, and we can just kind of start. I can just go through, some of the.
Well, let's do that, and Graydon, you can kind of run the camera here. I didn't pull up the live text on this computer. Can you go ahead and pull that up?
Yeah, let me pull
and
that up.
Show them a little bit about. We've got several computers lined up here, and there's a purpose for that.
Yeah. Well, let's start kind of at the core, just explaining what some of the things are. What we've done is we have purchased a TriCaster. Graydon, you can kind of, and what the TriCaster is. It's a.
It's okay.
You should be able to zoom in or out. Yeah, we should be okay. What the TriCaster is it's a hardware solution, and we actually don't recommend this hardware solution, but it's basically a computer that's got several different inputs to it. So it's a video switch and a tool to handle transitions between different video transitions and doing the overlays and queuing up videos that we've pre-recorded that we want to show either during the service. It's all set up for handling all of that. So I'm not going to get into a lot of the details here. Just before but I wanted to introduce you. This is kind of the heart of this setup back here, and this is through our TriCaster. Next to the TriCaster, as I mentioned, we've got we do our song lyrics and scripture and notes, teaching notes in lower thirds of the video. And what we're doing is we use an equipment that's a piece of software that's associated with this TriCaster, and that the TriCaster, the New Tech company, provides. That is called Live Text, and within Live Text,
can you pull something up there?
Yeah,
is there something from the? I
Let's
don't know if we've done something from the past. We can maybe pull up there.
And to tell you the truth, I'm not the biggest fan of this software, actually.
That's okay. Be honest. Be honest about it. I mean,
yes, I'm not sure. It's probably really good for authoring and putting things together. But when you're presenting on a Sunday, during your service, basically what happens is you have the outline of all the slides that are listed here. And one of the big problems is this is microscopic, so you got to have some pretty good eyes to see. And as you see here, as I click on different slides, it will bring them up full screen where I could edit them if I wanted to. But what we do during a live service is we push this live button, and if I have my TriCaster set up properly over here,
I turned it on, so we probably don't have it set up.
and let's see. Oh. Yeah, it is not set up. I'm not going to go through the setup right now. But typically there'd be an option for the Live Text PC to come in here. And I think there's a boot order on how you boot these things up. I think it wants this thing to be running first. Oh. But anyway, this will queue up the live text below. And then there's a control on the TriCaster that allows me to fade the text in over the lower third of the camera. So what we do here live is we'll man each of these stations. We'll have a guy that's responsible for putting his ear to the song that's going on and keeping up with the lyrics, switching between the different lyrics texts. There'll be a guy here that's driving this TriCaster, and the TriCaster, what he's doing is primarily just switching from different camera angles. We started with one camera, we now have three, but we only actually use two of the cameras. So we switch what we've done, and maybe we'll get I don't know if we'll be able to get a shot out here, but what we've migrated to is we have a camera that's actually mounted on the wall that's a fixed camera that's got a shot of the key performer. Hey Mike, how you doing? And then we have a manned camera. And then we've got this set up here where we've got these mics that allow us to communicate from this back room out to the live area.
Okay.
So each of the guys back here has a headset when you can either switch on the mics, and this is actually a wired mic set that we went with by, I'm not sure, Production Intercom is what they
say. So this is how people communicate to the people who are in the auditorium, the camera guys.
The camera guys in the auditorium.
So we'll sound people too.
Yeah. So typically, what will happen is, the guy that's typically in the producer seat, which is this seat, which is over the TriCaster, is communicating with the camera guy, saying, "Okay, I'm going to switch to the fixed camera so that you can go and take a close-up shot of the bass player." And then they'll switch back, and so they'll communicate back and forth on what shots, and as the camera, the TriCaster operator, the guy, the producer, he's going to see all the cameras up in little previews up here, and he has the ability to switch them live, so he can see what's going on.
So it's almost like a little TV station, or what they might have in the back of a truck at a sports
at a mobile
location,
event,
a mobile event, and they can do all that there. Now, Graydon, let's bring over here. We'll show people a little bit over here. At Alive, what we do, and again, we're not your typical church, but we actually do some. Yeah, we're kind of mobile here, so don't worry about the camera work here. But what we do is we also mix the sound, not only in the auditorium, like most churches obviously would with a band or music, but we also mix it to go live on the internet. So what we do is we have a little mixer here, and we actually will be monitoring what's online. Now, if up here in the monitor up here just happens to be me up here talking, but normally we would have a live church and the service would be streaming, and we would get the audio from what's online and we would mix it from here. So we mix it again to try to make it sound better for those of you listening online. And that, of course, is we do have, you know, a live band, we have guitar players, drummers, and all that stuff. So that's why we do another mix here. And then, of course, when our speaker gets up, Jeff Love happens to be our senior pastor, when he gets up to talk, we don't really have to do a lot of mixing for him. But we do sometimes do video breakaways, and we've got to shut his microphone off while we're doing a video breakaway and then bring it back on when he's ready to go. So that's kind of what this deal is over here. This machine here, I don't know if you can just get a picture of this, Graydon. We're kind of tight in here, and we apologize for being tight. And by the way, if you have any questions for us, just type it in the chat here, and we'll try our best to answer. This is a Adobe Flash Media Live Encoder, which we recommend. It's a free deal that we recommend. And so what's going on here is Steve just talked to you about the TriCaster. The TriCaster sends a signal to our other campus through a T1 line. Make sure I get this right here, okay? And then we're also sending a signal into another office where we do live breakaways. We do live breakaways, and so when we have worship and the worship ends and the campus pastor gets up and makes announcements, the campus pastor for the online church makes announcements, and he does a cut-in or a breakaway, and so we send a signal into another switcher in another room with another camera, which we don't have the cord long enough to show you, although we could go in that other office and switch it over where you could actually see what's going on in that other office. But that switcher enables a camera and a switcher with sound and everything to, in my case, I'm the campus pastor here at Alive Church. I make announcements, welcome people online, what have you, and that goes into this, comes back around, loops around, and goes into this encoder. And so, again, what you're seeing here on this encoder is just some slides that we're running, but we could do a breakaway right now, actually, and you could see it on this encoder. So, you could see what's going on. So, did that make sense? Was that clear as mud?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And then what we do is the signal that goes to the web goes out through this encoder to the web. Right. So we're actually sending a couple signals. We have a remote campus, and we send through the TriCaster to the remote campus, and then we send another signal out to the web through this Adobe Live Media encoder.
Right. Now, Dan had a question online, and he said, how many cameras do we use here at Alive Church? We have 3 cameras. We use only 2, really.
Well, we broadcast only 2 cameras. We do use all 3. We've got, as I mentioned, we have a man camera, a fixed camera, and then we have another fixed camera. Let me swing around here.
Yeah.
And
how close can we get to your face, Steve?
Yeah. So the other fixed camera is, what we do is we do a wide angle shot, so we can see, and it's actually our lowest quality camera, so we don't broadcast with that camera, and it gives us a wide shot of the whole stage, mainly to the guys back here. We typically have it up on that monitor right there, the whole stage, so we can see what's going on the stage since we're in a separate room. Most of the churches will have all this equipment in the sound booth that is overlooking the service, and we just didn't have that privilege.
No.
A lot of people would have it, the higher end places, they'll have a sound room with a window out looking, and most of the churches are kind of similar to what we've got. Is our sound booth is just in the back.
I wonder if we could actually show people. That might be kind of a challenge here, but I'm wondering if Graydon, go out, see if you can go out there a little bit. Maybe you could help him, Steve. Yeah, take the camera right out there. Everybody's looking at my chest now. There you go.
Yeah.
And let's see what we can do here. Again, we apologize for the rough video here, but we're just kind of showing you a behind-the-scenes deal here. And maybe you can get out. What you're looking at right now is the stage area.
Yeah.
Let's see how far we can go with
this. Get about to there.
And how far can we go?
That's about.
Is that about it?
That is about it.
Is that about it? We don't have a lot of cord. We literally go ahead and back up a little bit, Steve, and
so
Graydon, get a picture of Steve. It's a little bit dark in there, but get a shot of him. That's the stage area. You're looking at the very back of the stage. There's drums behind him. Can he stick out? Can he go out the door?
Yeah, you can you
hold on just a second here. Normally we don't do things like this, folks, but we're doing it as a special treat for you. Let's see if you can. Can you get out and look at what normally where the seats would be? There aren't any seats set up, but if you look in the back and you get a shot of the back of the auditorium, it's really dark back there, so it probably is not going to give you. There is a sound booth back. Yeah, you're looking at the sound booth right now, and there's no chairs set up in the auditorium. The chairs come and go all the time, but there's a sound booth back there with a couple cameras. Actually, are there 3 cameras mounted there, Steve? I think there are. And you can get a little bit of. Graydon, can you zoom in a little more? I don't know if you can zoom. There you go. Gives a little bit of a feel there. That's the back area there, and that's where traditionally everybody mixes their sound. Their auditory. You have a sound booth, and that's where people are. But there are cameras up there, and you can zoom back out, Graydon. And normally you would see a bunch of chairs out there. Go ahead and pan a little bit there. You can see, and again you can go back to the stage area a little bit there, and some lighting back there. You can see some of that. So. Again, we're behind the scenes here, literally, and it's a little rough, but that would give you a little bit of an idea, except there'd be a bunch of chairs out there and a bunch of people sitting out there. Yeah. And again, we are kind of next to the stage here. We are just a little bit to the side of the stage.
Get a shot of, there's one of the things we do that's fairly unique is our pastor has a laptop that's on the ground here, and he's got a monitor that's kind of swung away right now, but he's got this monitor.
Get a little closer. Go ahead and walk out there a little bit. Go ahead. You can get out there a little bit, and you can swing. Go walk over there. You don't have enough cord, do you, Steve, to walk over there? I'm talking about Steve walking over into it. You probably don't have enough cord unless you disconnect your microphone.
Yeah, I can.
We don't have it set up or anything.
Yeah.
If we had a little more forethought here, you would see there.
Here's the setup. So pastor can speak here. And he's got his notes right below here, and then we also communicate to the pastor through this screen as well. So we'll do he'll start the message off and ask what we call a virtual pastor question, and ask people to text or Facebook or go online to submit their answers, and we'll send him those answers right here directly through this monitor. So, and we also do that from this back room at the station that Phil was just talking about, right above the sound. We have a guy that does that.
Let's go on back in here. And again, we have a very small area. The work with here. I mean, it is real.
There we go. We're back.
Back on there. Okay. Lost some video. A little bit of a connection issue there. Sorry, folks. Go ahead and go back there, and let's get back down here, Steve. You and I. We've got a few minutes left, and we can go ahead.
Okay.
We apologize if you're getting sick, folks. Again, this is just raw. I thought we would try this. Okay. Let's ask some questions here. Go ahead and shoot that at Steve. For the breakaways with the camera pastors, do you run that feed through the TriCaster to get it to the web? Did you understand that question, Steve?
Yes. So we're actually so we have some Ys in the video feed, some splits in the video feed, and the TriCaster is actually, we have it dedicated to broadcasting to our other campus, and so it doesn't cut away. So it is upstream of the split, the fork in the video feed that goes to the web. So so the TriCaster is not split, but the it is what we do. What we broadcast to the web has that that switch upstream of it. So as we switch, only the web sees the switch because we don't want to broadcast the webcaster to the other physical campus.
Right. Exactly. That's why we, and maybe again we'll do this sometime with a portable camera. The other question we had too was, is there a limit to how many viewers can log in to see a service? Does someone get bumped if the 51st or person logs in? In other words, is there a limitation?
No, there is no limitation. So you can have 1 to 10,000 people attending your service. You do what does happen if you're fairly new to this is as people watch your service, they consume bandwidth, and so you've got to pay for the bandwidth that they consume. So there is no limitation, there is no bumping, but there is a fee associated with the bandwidth. And just following up on that question, the fee is $2.25 a gigabyte, which translates into, there's a lot of variables here, but if you're broadcasting at 250 kilobit, which we're broadcasting I think at 300 right now, it equates to about, if you have 10 people on watching for an hour, they would consume about 1 gigabit.
So about $2.25.
About $2.25.
If 10 people watch for an hour.
For 10 viewer hours.
Yeah. So if you had 20 people watching for an hour, it'd be like $4.50.
Right. Yeah.
And if you really have a lot of people watching, you can we do discount that.
Yes, there is a discount for lots of people.
That. I'm not in the camera. Okay, where's my camera guy here? Another question is, the pastor interacts with the people. Does the pastor interact with the people online? Yes, he does. A lot of people don't do this. A lot of pastors don't interact with them, but our pastor does, and he does it through what he calls a virtual pastor question. What he'll do at the beginning of the service, usually, is say, okay, for those of you even in the auditorium or in the other campus, the other venue we have, the other campus, or for those of you watching online, here's a question for you. Today we're going to talk about God's Word. How does God, here's a hypothetically, he might say, how does God's Word affect your family life, or how does it affect your personal life, or something?
Yeah.
Might be a deep question, might be a
and that provides for a two-way communication. He also will always greet the online campus,
yes,
and the churches that they're doing a really good job with this. They address the online campus just as they address the crowd that's right there in front of them.
Yeah. So anyhow, he'll ask a question, and then people can either text. We have a special text line here, text number, or they can type it in right here on the platform, the chat platform. They can do that as well if they want, or if they want to do more of a private thing, they can just text. We put up a text number, and people can text the answer to their question. And that really does help connect, and then he reads the answers usually at the end of the service.
Right.
But again, what you said, Steve, is very important. Our senior pastor and the ones that are really doing this well do interact with people online. They acknowledge them as part of the
congregation.
Part of the congregation. A good church will have somebody that is a web host, somebody that will be online and welcome people when they come online, answer any questions they have. I'm technically the campus pastor. I do that. We also have a host that volunteers for almost every service. So between the two or three of us, we kind of cover the bases with that. Yeah,
we've talked about this before, but you want to replicate all the bases that you have at church. You want to have a greeter out front. You want to have ushers. You want to take tithes and offers. You want to greet, do that sort of thing. You want to do all of that same sort of thing online.
Exactly. And yes, we do. The moderator can be the web host or the campus pastor or both. Honestly, there's usually never, in all the time I've been doing this, and usually it's not a problem. Sometimes you'll get somebody, I got a pesky fly here. Sometimes there might be somebody that gets a little argumentative online. Normally, it's kind of funny. The other people will kind of, that are watching kind of dogpile on them a little bit, or if worst case scenario, you can block them. You can block their IP. We've never had to do that.
As the admin or the web pastor.
As the admin, the person that's the web pastor who's